Today I'm visiting with a great friend, a phenomenal player, Anthony Bazzani. Stick around, we're going to talk about pianos and we're going to talk about music and playing the piano. Hi, this is Ted Barsley with Alamo Piano Galleries. This is Anthony Bazani, friend of Alamo Music Center for 25, 26 years plus that at least I'm aware of, and also a phenomenal pianist. And Anthony, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you so much. It was great. I walked in the store the other day, and it was on a Sunday, and you were in here playing. I thought, wow, this is incredible. And I had always wondered if you ever got around to sitting down and playing the Shigerus, because I know you're a traditional classical player. I want to, before we get into things like what you have at your house, and I want to start off with some basic stuff, because we just really want to get a feel for your piano journey, of which I know very little, except when I would see you sometime in a hotel walking out with some string players, like, oh man, that guy had a gig. And so it's like, I'd see you here and there around town, and we'd bump into one another in some places. So I got to clear the ear here. What age did you start playing the piano?
7.
You were 7.
Yeah.
And why is that, and how is that? Was that your doing, your parents, someone decided?
It was definitely me. Like, okay, so my house, the piano we had at home was a Kanabi. I don't know the model, but it was built in 1901. Do you remember the old, I guess they're called upright grands, rosewood piano. And I can't tell you exactly what it is about the piano, but it's like, even though when I look back on it now, I mean, there was sort of a saloon piano element to it, because like, you know, old piano, but I was fascinated by it. I wanted to play the piano, and I'm the one that bugged my parents. Like, I want to take piano lessons.
So where'd that Kanabi piano come from? Was that your parents, your grandparents?
Yeah, my mom. That piano was in my mom's house when she grew up. That's the house that I grew up in. Was the same house my mom grew up in.
That was the most sought after piano at its time in 1908. I mean, those were the most high dollar pianos, the most respected pianos you could get.
It was a big sound.
Whether it was a grand or an upright.
Yeah.
And they were always different. I haven't seen a Kanabi piano in this store in about 20 years.
Yeah.
And we had a nice player grand, believe it or not. It had the drawer underneath.
Yeah.
And I've played on one of their uprights. It wasn't a 1908, but it was pretty thick and sturdy.
Yeah.
And they were really well-made pianos.
Yeah.
And I think someone ended up buying them, and they got incorporated into some other company.
Right.
So you started when you were 7. And now, how did you start off? Was that John Thompson, or was it something else?
My mom's sister, my aunt, played piano in our church, and she also taught piano, so she was my first piano teacher. And so I remember, I think it was John Thompson. Was there another one called Sham?
Yeah,
what is
Sham.
Right?
Eric,
so I went through those books, and then at some point I had a different teacher early on, but yeah, I started like all the other kids, you know.
Yeah,
like,
but you had a soft introduction. You had a relative that already knew you. It's not like you had a mean old nun that was going to try to get you to quit.
Yeah. Well, you know what it was interesting too, like, I don't know if this was intentional, but my aunt, she read music, of course, you know, because she was teaching me these books, but she also played by ear. So what was interesting when I look back on it is she would play every piece. She would play it for me first. So like, I'm reading it even as a 7-year-old, but I already know what it sounds like because she played it for me first. So like, from the very beginning, there was this sort of dual journey of reading music, but also playing by ear.
And copycatting, because that's how you originally learned.
I mean, so I started with that from the very beginning.
Well, check this out. My parents had this thing where I have an older brother at the time, me, and a younger brother.
Right.
So what Dad did was, okay, this is not a toy. Unless you're getting instructions on how to use it, you don't mess with it.
Right.
So the older brother, he's curious, he gets in there. So then, what do you think I want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other guy. So who do you think was really the quickest, fastest learner? The guy, the younger brother. He heard the same book, the same songs, get learned by someone. So when he went up to it, I already know how this goes. Yeah. That guy really wasn't playing by reading music.
Right.
He was playing by ear.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell a lot of people. If you want to learn a song on piano, the last thing you need to do is sit down at a piano.
Right.
You need to get the music,
Yeah.
And sit down and listen to it repeatedly, at least 20 times before you go to the instrument. Because think about all the lyrics to rap songs that all these kids know, and how many times they have to playing the piano and getting to know the music and how the song goes is the exact same thing as memorizing words to a song.
Right.
Okay? Once you have the information in, you can control how it comes out by practice.
Right.
If you don't have the information, you're not going to be able to practice it until you learn it.
Yeah.
And that's the trickiest part about piano. Because the minute you see the music, you want to jump in and start playing. I want to do what he does. And then you're looking at it and it's, I sit and I read it and I chord it out and I put hand positions and I used to not be like that.
Right.
Okay, it's because I wasted a lot of time in the piano floor. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. We don't always, I practiced for 6 hours. How much did you really practice? 45 minutes twice.
Yeah.
You know, because you're just daydreaming and trying stuff and thinking.
Right.
Creativity is the most, one of the most important things.
Right.
So let me ask you, what was your first gig?
My first gig, let's see. Well, it wouldn't be an official gig, but my mom was in a music club. And pretty early on, she wanted me to play for the music club, which I initially did not want to do at all.
Of course not. Of course not.
So that was probably the first thing I did was play there. I bet you I played at our little church, you know, at some point. But probably the music club. But the first actual gig was, no, it's not around anymore. Because here in San Antonio, we have, I guess we still have Luby's. Do we still have Luby's? Yeah. So North Texas had Fur's Cafeteria. And so my first gig was playing at Fur's Cafeteria on Sunday. It was like a brunch thing, 11 to 2 or something. They had an old upright piano, but this was my first actual job. I was like 15 years old. My mom had to drive me to the gig, you know, and it came with a free lunch, you know, hey.
Wow.
But yeah, that was the first actual gig I did was that. And then around the same time I started playing in an Italian restaurant on Friday nights, accompanying a singer that was in college at the time, but I was only 15. So like I also, somebody had to drive me to the gig.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Did you do more accompanying gigs than you did solo gigs by yourself, or was there, I mean, because my first experience with you were always backing up some other musicians.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why is he doing that? Well, I mean, I know it's a job, but at the same time, it's like, guy could make a mint on his own.
Well, you know, that Italian restaurant, I mean, it was, I don't know if the person that I accompanied had already been working there, but I don't remember exactly the circumstances, but it was voice and piano, and that's just what the gig was. So it's like, you know, as musicians, we kind of adapt.
That's a great gig
to
for
whatever it is. And it's super important to learn how to play with other people, whether they're singers or sax players or whatever, because, you know, I think the sort of travesty of only playing solo piano is like you don't really learn how to play with other musicians.
Right.
You know? Because if like a solo pianist all of a sudden is playing with somebody, they don't know how to accompany them.
Right.
Because they're playing their own things, so they're not listening. It's like you have to listen to each other.
Well, it's hard to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hardest thing. I mean, recording and then listening back to recording.
Oh, yeah.
And we've all had those moments in a piano lesson where the teacher's taught, you're playing it wrong. It goes like this, and then you can't quite get it.
Yeah.
You can't quite get it because you're only hearing a fraction of the measure.
Right.
But then when you hear the whole piece, you find a recording, you listen to it, it goes, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Once you know what it is, and it tells you what it is on the music, but not everyone's that sharp at pulling down, especially the decorations. You know, the little nuances that they put right in front, grace notes, little turnarounds, and the classical music, the pianist classical music is full of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't even know all the symbols. I know there's the one that turn around. There's so many different symbols that all the time on Facebook you see, what does this mean? I'm looking at music as like this. And the one thing that I always tell people you have to remember, you buy a copy of Beethoven's music.
Right.
There's pedal markings in it.
That's right. Yeah.
Who put those there?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's different. And then people always forget, you're playing Bach. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's on a piano, which he never really got around to pound on. Okay, so there's. I'm not saying I'm such a purist that you play it on a clavecine or a harpsichord. No one wants to listen to that. That's hard to take after 20 minutes. It's just really thin. So now, in terms of gigs, did you play locally and then start touring And because I know you were in the Band of the West for a while.
That's right. That's
And
right.
Was that like your first true musician job?
I would say, yeah, because I mean, I grew up in a small town in North Texas, and there was a point for me, probably like a lot of musicians, that it was just like an all-consuming. It was always piano, but there was a point when I was about 15. It's like I wanted to learn everything I could try to learn with piano, and this was before YouTube and before anything online. And so I just had to seek out people in my area. That one person could play country piano, and I found another person that was like a gospel piano player, and show me this, show me that, just kind of seek them out.
People that know stuff.
Right? So the first real eye-opening experience for me was going to University of North Texas, which was kind of overwhelming, as an 18-year-old, because when you're coming from a small town, all of a sudden you're there with people. They're from all over the world.
Talented too.
Germany, I mean, everywhere. I took lessons with a guy from London. There was a wonderful jazz piano teacher. But that was the real kind of okay, this is for real now, you're there with people from all over the world,
So when you were, your first travel and touring, that was with what, the Band of the West, for the most part?
Yeah. When you're in North Texas, even when I was there, Harry Connick, when he first kind of blew up on the scene, he kind of came through Denton and hired some horn players for his big band. And, so it's a thing where people, if you're willing to kind of leave school, there are gigs that you can do. But I other than there was a blues band that was looking for a piano player, I didn't actually want to leave school at the time. So, the first real gig for me was the Air Force Band of the West. So that's how I moved here to San Antonio.
So what were you playing on there? But was it always just acoustic piano? Did you get a Rhodes, a Whirly, keyboards?
In the Air Force?
Okay, yeah.
Well, the Air Force, at that time, this was 1994. So the keyboards at the time, 88 key, For me, it's always been, even when it's a keyboard, it's always a piano substitute. So it's never really been the 61 note keyboards. It's it's got to be the 88 note. It's got to have weighted keys. Right. It's got to have a good piano sound. And 99% of the time, I would spend playing piano on the digital keyboard. It's I don't want to play, I like B3 and I studied organ also, but I'm a piano player.
That was my next question. Okay. Because I know you're a piano player and you're classically trained and raised, but I was going to ask, do you play jazz, blues on a B3? Have you played Fender Rhodes? Have you ever owned a Rhodes? Did you go out and
I
get yourself
have owned a Rhodes.
Okay.
The church where I work as a music director, we were, there was a lady that donated a Hammond C3 with a Leslie, and it's cool, but I think about, back to North Texas, my piano teacher, at the time, you had to have a secondary instrument. So I picked the pipe organ because for a piano student, it was either going to be harpsichord or pipe organ. So I thought at least the organ is versatile. You can play weddings and whatever. So
did you have to play with your feet?
Yeah.
That's goofy, isn't it?
It is. But here's the thing I wanted to share with you is I would come back to sometimes I'd have an organ lesson and go straight to piano. And my teacher, we would talk about the organ that semester. And I would ask her, what did she think about the part? And it's just but it's not the piano. It's
you need
it's I agree, it's not the piano. It's a wonderful, powerful instrument, but the piano is it's a whole world into itself.
Okay, now in terms of pianos, what I'd like to do is, I'm trying to get through a certain number of questions.
Sure.
I've heard you playing. I want to jump to the playing, but it'll be there.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite pianos? Because everyone has their own thing that they like. And just say in terms of grand pianos and then uprights, what do you like in a piano?
What I feel with pianos, they all have their own story, and there's what I like is so many pianos, they have their own personality. And so when you sit at a piano, I kind of love an old instrument, because to me there's this history of when you play a piano that's 1924, and I think about all the people that have played on this piano, Was
songs are
somebody
going through it?
playing, in a church, like were they playing Amazing Grace on this piano in 1924? Probably, and so it's just, it's like a living instrument thing where I love the history of it, so. I mean, older instruments, some of the old Baldwins, like Mason and Hamlin, everything. It's like all the different pianos. I love, Japanese pianos, the Kawai, the Yamaha, but also Steinway, of course. I have a Steinway at home. But they all have their own personality.
What was the first piano besides the Kanabe? Because that was in your house.
Yeah.
And you move up, you grow up, you move out, you go to college,
Yeah.
you get a job, we have your own money, then you got to go get a piano for your house.
Yeah.
What'd you put in your house? What was the first thing?
Okay, so for me, I got I was in an apartment, second floor apartment when I was in the Air Force. So there was a limited space, I think the first thing I got in San Antonio was somebody was selling a Yamaha CP70, which I thought, this is a great idea. It's like a piano, but it fits in a corner, but I wasn't really happy with it. So that was a short-lived period, but then I got a Steinway upright, the Model 1098, which I loved. It was great, but I knew I'm gonna have to get a grand at some point.
Right.
But practical reasons, an apartment, upstairs, it's like, even if I had the funds to get a grand piano, it's like, where are you going to put it? Like, you're not going to have a bedroom? It's like,
Okay, before we get to you playing, I have one last question. Know you're classically trained, you got all the stuff. When you play and you're improvising, okay, did you study specifically? Did you take theory classes, improv classes? I mean, you had people try to shove creativity down you, like, here's how, get inventive, right?
Right.
Because I just love your interpretations.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
And it's just kind of interesting. So who were the guys that you listen to that you think you're emulating when you sit down? Because we all have a dude in our head or someone.
I would say one of the first things I remember hearing, although I'm not sure I'm going to play any of his music style today, but one of the first things I remember hearing is my dad had some Ray Charles records, and I was just 7, 8 years old, and I just was fascinated with it. I loved the way he sang and played piano. So that was an early one. Our house, a lot of families have a specific Christmas album that every year they play. Our house was the Nat King Cole Christmas album, and I love the way Nat King Cole plays piano. Those were 2 early ones. And then also, 7, 8, 9 years old, same time period, my dad had, I think the album from Frank Sinatra's called It Might As Well Be Swing, but it's the album that's got Count Basie and Fly Me to the Moon, and I loved that. The sort of the feel of that music, the very specific style of Count Basie, it's I loved it, So those were early influences, and I think for me, Ray Charles has always been an influence, But as you get older, you find other people, like the pianist Bill Payne from Little Feat. Someone introduced me to Little Feat's music long after it was originated, but I loved the album Waiting for Columbus. It's a live album, Little Feat. And Bill Payne is an incredible piano player. So that was a thing, I was listening and absorbing that. But then at UNT, there's all the other pianists Wynton Kelly was one. I mean, Bill Evans, all of it, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock. But, for me, it's always been music that I think is accessible to people. And that's not a thing where it's dumbing it down. It's I want to play music and hear music that people are going to connect to. Because if you're going to make a living in music, if you're playing the really high art music, there is a small audience for that, but I'm not sure how you're going to make a living with that.
And sometimes when a guy takes it, when a player takes out a song and they go way out, it's dude, you should just wrote your own piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting because I like some of the influences that you have and the way that it shows up in your playing.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a listen to Anthony play right now. Anthony, love your playing.
Thank
What
you.
I want to do is I want to ask you, it's endorsement free. Talk about the SK-6, because that's what you played on and shot on. You specifically mentioned this piano once or twice.
Yeah.
And so this and any other pianos you have, you talk about your Steinway B, talk about, whatever you want.
Right.
What is it that you really look for when you sit down at a piano? Or what grabs your attention as a pianist? Because I know you've played tons of different pianos and instruments.
Right.
But every now and then, like you said, there's something I like about every piano.
There really is, but what I love about pianos like this is the consistency of the action, because I think I was mentioning earlier to you that for me, and everyone has their preferences. Some people like a really heavy action. Some people like a light. To me, it's got to be at least somewhere in the middle. Not overly heavy as like an athletic event to play piano, but you do want some weight to the keys, because I feel like in order to have control over the action, it's got to be heavier. It can't be so light that you graze a note and it's like it can't be that light.
You're right.
Right. And I feel like it is in some ways where if you're practicing regularly, that you want to feel like your hands are getting stronger, and it's like you can't do that with an action that doesn't have any weight.
Right.
So definitely an action like this is super consistent. For me, the tone also, this is a beautiful, clear tone. I feel like it's somewhere in the middle. Like, it's not overly bright, which, I wouldn't want. But I wouldn't want something that's really dark either. It needs to feel like you can play different styles of music on it. So for me, the ideal piano is a versatile piano that you can kind of play anything on. You can play a piece of classical music, but also play a pop song, a jazz song, like something that's really gonna speak in different styles.
Right.
And I feel like this does do that.
Super. The other thing I wanted to mention is in the piano playing.
Yeah.
Is not just the action, but the intonation, but how much. This is a strange thought. I know you'll understand it because you're a pianist.
Yeah.
How much do you feel coming out of the instrument based on the materials and knowing that groups of people built this thing?
Yeah.
There's human labor involved in that permanent, sustain on the note, the singability. I mean, people worked with raw materials to bring all that out. And that's one thing about a piano that I always had respect for. I've had some pianists, and you'd be surprised if I told you who they were, that believe there's the strongest spiritual existence of all those people that ever built, worked, touched, or played the instrument stay here. So when you go up to a piano, and you kind of touched on this when you said, I like the old pianos because what songs came through them.
Yes.
Part of that is that spiritualness, in the moment, the improv is like, how many songs has this thing really, really made beautiful? And is there any of that left in it for me? Or is it how much has other people left behind in this instrument?
Yeah.
And so
that's interesting.
It's a different way of looking at the instrument. But I asked someone, so where do you think your music comes from? It comes from the wood. It comes from all the labor, every layer that everyone ever put into it. It comes from every tuning. It comes from every bit of main. Every time someone cares for it, that's where it comes from. And I thought, you know what? That's the problem with pianos. They don't come with a medical chart. So you have a history of not just their psychological damage, but their physical damage as well.
Right.
Okay? Because let's face it, that's the one thing people always seem to understand is like, how much damage have you incurred?
Yeah.
All right. And so a piano kind of tells the same story in a human way. So that's why I think people have these different ideas about, the natural materials and that are into a piano. It's different.
That is. I mean, what I feel like with the piano, I haven't thought of it so much with although that's true that all the human labor that went into it. I think of it as what you're putting into it. Whereas like when you have a piano my piano at home, I've had it for 25 years. And so like that's 25 years of playing on it, for hours and hours at a time. So it's like you're pouring into this instrument
A lot.
you know, and because maybe we'll get to a day where digital pianos, and I know there's hybrids and all the things, but I have a hard time like really connecting with those instruments. But like this is an actual acoustic instrument. And I think as a working musician, one of the hardest things to kind of do as a pianist is like, when you take a really nice keyboard out to play somewhere, I mean, I feel like you're just like imitating the piano. Mm-hmm. Because like when you sit down at a real instrument, it's just like you're gonna emote differently. You're gonna hear the music differently. I mean, you can get the best surround system in the world on your gig, and it's like, it's not this.
It's not. To me, it's not as moving from the inside out.
Yeah.
There isn't much inside when you're playing on a
right.
The inside out is the attachment to.
Right, and so you play keyboards with a guy that's got like a 1965 Les Paul or whatever. It's like that person is connected with that instrument in a different way than you're going to connect with your keyboard that you bought in 2024. It's just like it's not the same thing. But a piano is a different story.
Yes.
Like I feel like it's a living, breathing instrument that you can personally connect with. So I think of it as the player connecting with the instrument. And really, for some reason, when I play an older piano, I'm thinking of the people that played on it before, more so than the technicians. But I did learn several years ago how valuable a great piano technician is, because if you've got a good piano, it doesn't have to be a fantastic piano, but like a good, solid instrument. If you've got a great piano technician, you are solid, because they can take that piano and voice it up and smooth out the action and kind of make it sing, you know?
It's more fulfilling to play.
Yeah.
And because there are some pianos, I mean, I can show you some around here that are just not, they just like, you know what, it's time for to go. Yeah. Especially, you know, I don't mean to get impatient with a lot of things, but just recently in the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned how to tune pianos. And
that's amazing.
And I've been I tune most of the ones here in the store.
Really? Wow.
But I grew up playing on a spinet, and I've just gotten to where like I have a lot of respect for a spinet because of what it meant in price ability to get music into more homes than anything else. But in this day and age right now, a spinet is just really, because no one's making them anymore. They're all old, they're all falling apart, and they're not much fun to work on. Yeah. And when you try to get it to sing and to do all the, it's just not there. Yeah. And I've been reading a lot of articles, and there's a lot of conversations here. Yeah. Are we better off with the old spinet, or should we just get one of these $400 or $500 digitals? It's like, you know what? I'd go with the digital. Yeah. Yeah. And most instances, I don't mean a little portable thing, but any kind of digital piano, it'll always be in tune. It'll play closer to regulation than an old spinet. And it'll do more to excite a youngster. I don't know so much about an elder one, but they get excited about learning music. And I get a lot of criticism because whenever I talk about students, they always think I'm talking about little kids. And I generally am, because it's, if you already know music or you're an adult and you know you want to play piano, get your questions asked and practice. Yeah. You know, but a lot of them are hesitant because, well, it's not as real. It's like, hey, look, man. Yeah. Everything is getting more, accessible. And it's the accessibility of digital pianos that has caused music to boom a lot in the 80s. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people walking around that got a song in them, or at least part of it, just because there's been digital instruments around. Well, that and just the ability for every single person out there to connect with a computer, record your digital piano into Logic or Pro Tools or whatever software you're using. I mean, that's an incredible thing. I mean, when I started, I had I don't even know what you call it. It was like a cassette recorder, but it had a handle that pulled out. You know what I'm talking about? Like that style. From age 10 on, and it's interesting because you mentioned recording yourself and listening back. I mean, no one told me to do that, but I just, somewhere around 10 or 11 years old, I started coming up with my own little compositions. And I had this cassette recorder. I filled up, like 75 cassettes before I went off to college. Wow. Of like different little ideas. But that process of recording
and listening back, it sharpens your ear.
Oh, it does. Now, let me ask you a
know?
question. Have you gone back to those?
No.
Even though, well, look, man, I'm telling you, I have some of the same type of things. First song I wrote, you know, on a little T handle, and you know, first thing I thought was really great, and it was like 2 chords and you know 4 notes and a melody. But anyway, when you go back and listen, like, hey, I remember I just improv for 30 or 40 minutes here for hours on end. Pop those in, and just listen to your ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know what? The according's not right, but that melody's pretty special. I would
tell you, like, for
know,
those individuals out there that are super organized, that would be an amazing thing. Because, like, I mean, to me, that seems overwhelming to go back through cassettes and cassettes and cassettes and dig through and spot an idea that, oh, I could do something with this. But, like, man, that just seems like an enormous task.
Well, what I've always liked about listening to my own recordings, even because I used to just record, you know, when I would just try to write stuff or make something up.
Yeah.
And when I go back and listen to them, it's really funny because poof, just like that, 27, 35 years, disappear.
Yeah.
I can tell you what day of the week it was when I recorded it. And you know what? And then all of a sudden I'm listening. I remember where I lived, the room, this, that, and the other. Then all of a sudden my 40-year-old bank account number, 7 digits, comes back in my memory.
Really?
And the fact that the day I did that, I only had $40 in the account, as opposed to being overdrawn. You know, all this stuff starts coming back.
Right.
And so I think, you know what? That's what it is the ability to use music to lock and store memories.
Yeah.
And almost everyone, oh, I remember this song. This was our wedding song. I was dating your mom. I did this. You know, everyone's got it tied in with what? A song, a melody, and ambiance.
Yeah.
And that's what I think when they talk about the piano's made out of the wood and the labor and everything that goes into it. There is a lot of spirituality in the final product of a finished piano when it's in a showroom. And it's made for creativity, inventiveness, and of course, absolutely fun.
Right.
And this has been fun. I think this conversation, I could go on forever. Anthony, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to have you back because I didn't even talk about what you're doing these days. It was everything that you've done just to get us here to talk. I can't thank you enough for being here. It's been a wonderful conversation. And I loved your playing. I want to have you back.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
We will look for you soon at alamopianogalleries.com, and thank you for your time. And again, thank you to Anthony Bazani for bringing part of his piano journey to us today, and then also certainly his playing. We look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you.